A Tuesday, April 12th, 2022, a seemingly ordinary day in the quiet town of Harmony Springs. Not exactly a date etched in history books, just another day, or so it seemed. But for the folks in Harmony Springs, it became a day they'd never forget. The town, known for its serene landscapes and close-knit community, was about to be shaken to its core. The phone rang at the sheriff's office just past midnight. The stillness of the night was broken by the shrill ring echoing through the empty halls. A frantic voice on the other end. The caller's words were rushed, filled with panic and urgency. Something about strange lights and a car abandoned near Harmony Creek. The details were hazy, but the fear in the caller's voice was unmistakable. Deputy Johnson, halfway through a donut, sighed. He had been looking forward to a quiet night, but it seemed fate had other plans. This was going to be a long night. As he grabbed his keys and headed out, he couldn't shake the feeling that something was terribly wrong. The drive to Harmony Creek was eerily quiet. The usual sounds of the night seemed to be absent, replaced by an unsettling silence. As he approached the creek, the flashing lights of his patrol car cast eerie shadows on the trees. The scene that greeted him was unlike anything he had ever seen. The car was there, just as the caller had described. Its doors were wide open, and strange, flickering lights danced in the distance. Deputy Johnson stepped out of his car, his hand instinctively moving to his holster. He scanned the area, looking for any signs of movement. Beads of sweat formed on his forehead as he cautiously approached the abandoned vehicle. The air was thick with tension. He shone his flashlight into the car, revealing empty seats and scattered belongings. Whoever had been here had left in a hurry. The strange lights continued to flicker in the distance, casting an otherworldly glow. Johnson's heart raced as he tried to make sense of what he was seeing. He reached for his radio, his voice steady but urgent. "This is Deputy Johnson. I need backup at Harmony Creek. There's something strange going on here." The radio crackled to life, and a voice on the other end acknowledged his call. Help was on the way, but Johnson knew he had to stay alert. He stood by the car, his eyes fixed on the strange lights. Whatever was happening, it was far from over. The night was just beginning, and Harmony Springs would never be the same again. The car, a beat-up Ford pickup, sat by the creek like a lost dog. It looked as if it had been there for days, maybe even weeks, forgotten by its owner. The paint was chipped and rusted, the tires caked with mud. The creek's gentle flow seemed to whisper secrets about the vehicle's mysterious past. Its doors were flung open, headlights still piercing the darkness. The beams of light cut through the night, casting eerie shadows on the surrounding trees. It was as if the car was trying to signal for help, a silent cry in the vast emptiness of the night. The open doors suggested a hasty exit, but why? What had caused the driver to leave so abruptly? Inside, the keys dangled in the ignition. They swayed gently, moved by an unseen force, perhaps the wind, or maybe something more sinister. The keys were a stark reminder that someone had been here, someone who had left in a hurry. The ignition was a silent witness to whatever had transpired, holding onto its secrets tightly. A half-eaten bag of chips rested on the dashboard. Crumbs were scattered everywhere, hinting at a rushed meal or a nervous snack. The interior of the car was a mess, with empty soda cans and fast food wrappers strewn about. It painted a picture of someone who had been living out of their car, or perhaps someone who had been on a long, stressful journey. But the strangest thing? No driver, no passengers. The car was completely empty, devoid of any human presence. It was as if the occupants had vanished into thin air, leaving behind only their belongings. The emptiness of the car was unsettling, raising more questions than answers. Just an eerie silence hanging heavy in the air. The forest around the creek was still, almost too still, as if holding its breath. The only sound was the gentle babbling of the creek, a stark contrast to the tension in the air. The silence was oppressive, making the hairs on the back of your neck stand up. Sheriff Thompson, a man who'd seen his fair share of strange, scratched his head. He had dealt with runaway teens, stolen cars, and even the occasional missing person, but this was different. The scene before him was baffling, and he couldn't shake the feeling that something was terribly wrong. He examined the car closely, looking for any clues that might explain its presence. This wasn't your typical joyride. The car's location, the state it was in, and the complete absence of its occupants all pointed to something far more sinister. Sheriff Thompson knew he had to get to the bottom of this mystery, but he also knew it wouldn't be easy. The abandoned car was just the beginning of a story that was yet to unfold, a story that promised to be as dark and twisted as the night itself. Word spread through Harmony Springs faster than a squirrel through a pecan tree. Soon, folks gathered near the creek, whispering amongst themselves. Old Mrs. Henderson swore she'd heard strange humming noises the night before. Young Billy claimed he saw lights dancing in the sky, bright as fireworks. Sheriff Thompson listened, a knot forming in his gut. This wasn't just a missing person case. This was something else, something unexplainable. For 2 weeks, Harmony Springs was turned upside down. Search parties combed the woods, helicopters buzzed overhead, and divers scoured the depths of Harmony Creek. Every culvert, every abandoned well, every inch of the town was searched. But the missing folks from the pickup vanished. No trace, no sign, no explanation. The case went cold, but the questions lingered. Theories ran wild in Harmony Springs. Some whispered about a mountain lion, bigger than any they'd seen before. Others blamed it on moonshine, claiming the missing folks wandered off in a drunken haze. But the most persistent theories? They were the ones that sent shivers down your spine. Theories that spoke of things beyond our world. Old Man Hemlock, who lived at the edge of town, was a figure of mystery and intrigue. He had a weathered face that seemed to hold 1,000 stories, and eyes that had seen more than most could imagine. Hemlock claimed to have seen it all, from the mundane to the extraordinary. He swore up and down it was aliens that night. He'd tell anyone who'd listen, with a fervor that was hard to ignore. He said he'd seen strange lights hovering over Harmony Creek the night the folks disappeared. These weren't just any lights, he insisted. They moved with a purpose, almost as if they were searching for something, or someone. Hemlock described them as being like fireflies, but 100 times bigger and brighter. They glowed with an intensity that lit up the entire creek, casting eerie shadows that danced on the water's surface. He said these lights weren't just for show, they had a purpose. According to Hemlock, they sucked those folks right up into their spaceship. He described a beam of light so powerful, it was like a vacuum, pulling everything in its path. Now, most folks dismissed Hemlock as a harmless eccentric. They'd chuckle at his stories, pat him on the back, and go about their day. But after that night, things changed. The townsfolk, who once laughed off his tales, found themselves looking over their shoulders. They weren't so sure anymore. The disappearance of their neighbors was too real, too close to home. And the strange lights? Well, they couldn't just ignore them. The local newspaper ran stories about the mysterious disappearances, fueling the town's growing unease. Headlines screamed about the missing folks, and whispers of alien abductions spread like wildfire. Even the children who once played near Harmony Creek without a care in the world were now kept close to home. Parents warned them to stay away from the water just in case. Town meetings were held, with concerned citizens demanding answers. The sheriff, who had no logical explanation, found himself at a loss. Theories ranged from government experiments to natural phenomena, but none seemed to fit. Through it all, Old Man Hemlock remained steadfast in his story. His eyes, filled with conviction, never wavered. He knew what he saw, and he wasn't about to let anyone tell him otherwise. As the nights grew longer and the stars shone brighter, the town couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. The vast expanse of the universe seemed to hold more secrets than they were ready to uncover. And so, the townsfolk found themselves looking up at the night sky, a mix of fear and wonder on their faces. They couldn't help but wonder if Old Man Hemlock was right. Were they truly alone, or was there something or someone out there watching them? Old Man Hemlock stood alone at the edge of town, his gaze fixed on the horizon. He knew the truth, even if no one else believed him. And in the quiet of the night, he waited, knowing that one day, the truth would reveal itself. Then there was the theory about the tunnels. Legend had it that a network of tunnels ran beneath Harmony Springs, built by bootleggers during Prohibition. Some folks claimed those tunnels still existed, leading to hidden chambers and forgotten passages. Could the missing folks have stumbled upon one of these tunnels, fallen through a hidden opening? It was a chilling thought, The idea of being trapped beneath the earth, lost and forgotten. Life went on in Harmony Springs, but it wasn't the same. The disappearances hung over the town like a shroud. Folks started locking their doors at night, something they'd never done before. They avoided Harmony Creek, once a popular spot for fishing and picnics. The laughter of children seemed a little less carefree, their games a little less spirited. Years have passed since that fateful night. The missing persons case remains open, gathering dust on Sheriff Thompson's desk, a constant reminder of the town's unsolved mystery. Every now and then, a new lead pops up, only to fizzle out like a damp firecracker. The truth of what happened that night at Harmony Creek remains elusive, a secret whispered on the wind. Harmony Springs is still a town of friendly faces and warm smiles. But beneath the surface, a current of unease lingers. A reminder that even in the most peaceful of places, darkness can lurk. And sometimes, the things we don't understand can be the most terrifying of all. The mystery of the abandoned car and the missing folks serves as a chilling reminder. Some secrets are best left buried.